Guys, we will be making the very well-known Chapli Kabob today that hail from Peshawar, Pakistan. And I'll be sharing with you a secret commercial recipe to make these Chapli Kabobs. And it's the same recipe that's employed by all the major establishments and the restaurants that are well known for serving these Chapli Kabobs in Peshawar and the northern regions of Pakistan. We'll be using a few ingredients that you will never see coming, and I'll also be sharing with you a special technique that they use to fry these kebabs in the pan, because of which they come out looking, tasting and feeling exactly the same. So I'm very excited, and I have the liquid of my choice in my hand, and I'm also sporting my Chitrali cap today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see how these kebab are made. Alright, so now that I have resourced my minced meat, let's go ahead and take a look at the ingredients that are going to be a part of this Chapli Kabob. So for our ingredients, we'll be using 1 tablespoon of dry coriander seeds, 1 tablespoon of dry black cumin seeds, 2 tablespoons of crushed red pepper or pepper flakes, 1 teaspoon of garam masala, 1 tablespoon of pomegranate seeds or anardana. These can be easily found these days at the South Asian supermarkets or the Pakistani grocery stores. And same thing for the garam masala. So 1 teaspoon of garam masala, 1 tablespoon of pomegranate seeds, 2 teaspoons of ginger garlic paste, and all these will also be mentioned in the description along with their exact measurements. So if you cannot get it here, always refer to the description for exact ingredients and their measurements. We will also be using 4 tablespoons of corn flour or maize flour. This is not cornstarch, but this is corn flour. 1 bunch of fresh coriander, 2 medium tomatoes, 2 large banana hot peppers. If you want it less spicy, you can use 1 long banana pepper, hot banana pepper. So that depends on how much heat you want in there. We have 1 raw egg, and also another ingredient that you did not see coming is omelette of 1 egg without any salt and pepper. So you just whisk it, fry it, make an omelette out of it in a pan with little oil. And now for the star for our show. It's going to be 1 pound of 80-20 minced beef meat. It's important that you use 80-20 meat because that's 80% lean and 20% fat, and that's important to get the right flavor out of your Chapli Kabob. And I will also be using another secret ingredient that I'm going to bring over. Here what I have is oil which is rendered from beef fat. So I got free beef fat from my butcher. Just went over there and asked them for beef fat, and they were more than happy to give me a bag full, and it came in big lumps like you can see here. And I put them in a pan and just let them sit on a medium heat, and just let them do their thing. And eventually within 2-3 minutes you will see the oil will start rendering from the fat. And you just have to keep on watching it every couple of minutes, keep an eye on it, but you pretty much don't have to do anything to it. Just let it sit there on medium heat, and the oil will start rendering from the fat. And if you want, you can probably turn it around a couple of times just so that the fluffier part gets close to the pan. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start making our prep. So first what we're gonna do is we're gonna roast our cumin and our coriander. Then after they get roasted, we're gonna crush them, and we will also crush the pomegranate seeds. So I will roast these first, and these I'm gonna crush or grind in a mortar and a pestle right up here. And for the pomegranate seeds, I'm gonna be doing these in a coffee grinder because these are very hard, and it's really hard to do them in a mortar and a pestle. So we're gonna go ahead and put our coriander and our cumin into the pan, and they just need to be lightly roasted. And my pan is hot. I'm already getting the aroma out of it, and we just need to do it probably not even for a minute. And at this point they're just about done. So you just need to give it a good pounding really quick. Alright, so this is the consistency or the coarseness that we're looking for.
And now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna crush these in my coffee grinder, and I'll be right back, and then we're gonna continue. So I've just grinded my pomegranate seeds, and this is what they should look like. So here I have 2 onions, which I forgot to mention last time. So along with all the stuff that we will use, we're gonna use 2. These are small to medium sized onions. If you find something really big, then you can just use 1. So now we're gonna go ahead and start chopping up our onions and our peppers. So the coriander, we're gonna roughly chop it up. We want it to be chopped up fine. So this is how fine you want your coriander to be. So the tomatoes, you want them somewhere between 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. So we'll make slices first. Cut strips out of these, and then we're gonna go diagonally. And now you just cut them in small pieces. Now we're going to do the same thing with our onions. So the onions and green peppers have to be very finely chopped. So whichever way you want to accomplish that, if you want to throw them into a blender, you can do that. Just make sure you're not making a paste out of them, but at the same time you want it very, very finely chopped. We're going to do the same thing with our green peppers. Again, you can do these in a chopper if you like. The way I like to do it is I like to julienne it first, and then you chop them up really fine. I'm leaving the seeds in there for the extra heat. The recipe that I'm giving you and all the ingredients and the ratios, they're very, very well calibrated, and I've tested them out several times before putting this recipe out. So just follow it down to the dot. If anything, you probably can reduce the amount of peppers depending on what's your heat tolerance. But like I said, what I have here is not going to make it very, very spicy. They'll be spicy nonetheless, but it's going to be a good balance between the spice and the flavors that we have and the amount of meat that's there. So this is what our chopped tomatoes, onions, peppers, and coriander is going to look like. So now we're going to go ahead and start mixing them up in our meat. So I'm going to put my, again, 2 spoons of red pepper flakes in there. Give it a good mix. I'm going to add my pomegranate. So if you see, I'm adding all of my dry ingredients first. This is my garam masala. So you have to make sure you give it a good thorough mix. This is our coriander and cumin, roasted and crushed. So you want to make sure that it's incorporated properly into your meat before you put any of the wet ingredients in. You're going to add the salt. This is something I didn't mention in the beginning, but that's pretty obvious. I'm going to add about 1 teaspoon of salt in here, and you can put salt to taste, whatever your preference is. So for the meat, if you're in an area that does not use pounds, this is about a little bit less than half a kilo. Now we're going to add our ginger garlic to this, and I'm going to add my corn flour to this as well. So the mixing part is very important. It's going to lend a special texture to the meat that's very difficult to attain. So now that we have most of our corn incorporated, we're going to add our tomatoes and start mixing them in, because the tomatoes and our onions, they're going to render some liquid and moisture into the meat as well. So another thing, if your onions have gotten too runny sitting around, or they have some water in them, make sure you remove the water from the onions. They're as dry as they can be before you put them inside. So we're going to give it a mix. Peppers as well. So I'll collect whatever's in here. All right, so I'm going to use both hands at this point and start giving it a good mix. So at this point, the moisture level inside the meat and the mixture, this is what you want. You definitely don't want it runny, because it's going to be difficult to make the patties at the tail end and put them into the kebabs. That we are at this point. I'm going to go ahead, and this is the ingredient that you never saw coming. We're going to just break down our egg into very small pieces. So you just mush it up and make it as small as you can. And at this point, I'm going to take the second egg that we showed you in the beginning. We're going to pop that in, and now we're going to give it the final mix. And this is what's going to give us the final texture that we want. So this is the kind of consistency that you're looking for. This is how it should break up, and once you're at this point, it means your mixture and your meat and your vegetables is everything is nicely incorporated and it's ready to go into the pan. All right, so now we have our oil that's rendered from the fat, and the trick is that you wet your hands first. That's very, very important. And you take a very small ball, not probably bigger than this, because we're gonna flat it out pretty thin. And this is the technique that I was referring to in the very beginning that's used by all the professional places. They spread it out very, very thin. The best way I can figure that out is by doing it on my hand like that. If you can do it in a different way, you can find a flatter plate or a tray, and you can see how thin I'm rolling this thing out now. And you just roll it out as thin as you can. It should keep its shape. That's because of the ingredients that are in there. And you just lay it flat inside your pan. And then we're gonna give it a nice flip, and then it'll be ready. So you will notice that it started out pretty big, and it's gonna shrink very, very quickly in size. So I'm gonna feel it right now. Probably needs another half minute. And if you can get the aroma that's coming out of this thing right now, it's just heavenly. So as you notice, it's shrunk considerably in size, and that's normal, but you still want it to keep the flat shape that it's known for. So you have to start out pretty big, pretty thin, and as it shrinks, it gets smaller and gets a little thicker. So right now, the thickness of this kebab is probably about a 1/4 inch. It's probably going to get a little bit more thicker than that, and you just have to be careful when you flip it. And that's exactly the color and the texture that you're looking for. So this should be done in about probably less than a minute. So you want the edges and the sides to be very, very crispy, and then you want the inside to be nice and tender and juicy. So we're very close to being done. We're going to do this, and then we'll probably do another couple ones, and we'll taste it out, see how it tastes. All right, so this looks pretty much all ready. I'm going to take it out. So if you want, you can move it around the oil so it catches all the sides. And the fact that it's not uniform in shape and it's jagged on the sides, that's what gives it the signature texture and the feel that's associated with Chapli Kabob. I'm going to move it to the side. We'll do one more just to show you, small portion of meat, and then you start flattening it out as much as you can. Every time you do it, you want to tap it with water so it doesn't get stuck to your hands, and keeps it firm. And if you look at it from the side, check this out. See, it's almost as thin as the paper at this point. So make it as thin as you can, and once you have the desired shape, you just nicely place that into the oil like so, and you just wait for it to shrink in size, get smaller and get fatter. That's the time you're going to flip it. Any more thicker than what I'm doing, they will not have the feel and the consistency that's known for Chapli Kabob. So if you feel that it's getting too big in your hand, you take smaller portions. So I'm already using very, very small portions for demonstration purposes here, and I'm just going to lay it flat nicely and let it do its thing. Now you see the size difference between the two, and they're going to shrink even more. You have to be a little tender when you're flipping them because they're very, very thin. By the time you have the second side on, it becomes nice and sturdy. So again, this is the texture and the color you're shooting for. Very important that you achieve this consistency. All right, so this one here is pretty much all done. I'm gonna flip this one. Looks like it's, and usually you can tell from the sides, the way that the meat is peeking out, that it's probably gonna be done on the other side, and see how small it's gotten. So now we're gonna take them out and get them ready for plating and see how they look. All right, so now for the moment that I know I have been waiting for. Let's go ahead and give these things a taste test. So I'm just gonna use my hands, not use anything else, no chutney, no bread. And I wanna see how this thing tastes. I'm just gonna break it with my hand. So if you wanna come take a look at it closely, I mean, look at the beauty of these things. And this is what a Chapli Kabob is. And when you break it, this is the kind of consistency you see inside. So I'm gonna take a bite. Never fails. It's just a simple explosion of taste and flavors inside your mouth, and the flavor is so complex in there. There's so many things happening, and the fact that the technique that's used for frying them, the fact that you have the beef fat and the beef oil in there, the fact that we have so many spices, so many herbs in there, and everything just comes together so nicely. But yeah, definitely go ahead, give a shot, give these chapli kabob a shot. I guarantee you will not be disappointed, and this recipe works every single time. So just make sure you keep all of your portions right. So if you guys like this recipe, definitely go ahead and subscribe our channel. Share it with your family and friends. Definitely go ahead and try it, and leave us a comment after you try it. Let us know how yours came out and how did you like them. Until then, this is Mo Eats.